The hospital lie. The phone call. My name is Margaret Whitmore, and for most of my life, people in Boston, Massachusetts described me with the same three words: strong, successful, unbreakable. I built my logistics company from nothing in the early 1990s. While others doubted a woman could survive in the freight business, I worked 18-hour days, signed contracts in cold warehouses, and negotiated deals across the country. By the time I turned 62, Whitmore Freight Solutions had offices in 5 states. But the greatest pride of my life was never my company. It was my son, Daniel Whitmore. He was born during the hardest years of my life. I raised him alone after his father died in a construction accident when Daniel was only 4. From that moment, everything I did, every sleepless night, every business risk was for him. I wanted him to have the life I never had, and for a long time, I believed he did. 3 years ago, Daniel married Emily Carter, a quiet young woman from Vermont. Emily worked as a nurse. She had gentle brown eyes and a voice that never rose above calm kindness. At their wedding in Cape Cod, she held my hands and said something I never forgot. "Mrs. Whitmore, I promise I'll always take care of your son." I smiled and hugged her, but deep inside, I thought something very different. Take care of him? No one had ever taken care of Daniel except me. After the wedding, I bought them a beautiful waterfront condo in Miami, Florida. Daniel insisted he wanted to move south and start a luxury lifestyle consulting business. I didn't fully understand what that meant, but I trusted him. I paid for the condo. I bought him a $140,000 yacht membership share at a private marina, and I helped him purchase a Tesla Model X. Every time I asked about his business, he smiled confidently. "Relax, Mom, everything's under control." Emily rarely spoke during those conversations, but sometimes I caught a strange expression in her eyes, a quiet worry. The phone call came on a rainy Tuesday morning in October. I was in my Boston office reviewing contracts when my assistant knocked on the door. "Margaret, there's a hospital calling from Miami." My heart dropped instantly. Hospitals never call with good news. I grabbed the phone. "This is Margaret Whitmore." The voice on the other end sounded tired. "Ma'am, this is Jackson Memorial Hospital. We're calling about Emily Whitmore." My fingers tightened around the receiver. "What happened?" "She was brought in last night unconscious, severe dehydration, pneumonia, and high fever." My stomach twisted. "Where is my son?" The nurse hesitated. "Are you her emergency contact?" "Yes." "Then you should come." "Why?" Another pause. Then the sentence that changed everything. "Because she's alone." I booked the first flight from Boston to Miami. The entire 3-hour flight felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Emily alone in a hospital bed? Where was Daniel? He adored her. At least, that's what I believed. When the plane landed, Miami's humid air hit me like a wall. Palm trees swayed along the highway as the Uber driver rushed toward the hospital. But something inside me felt wrong. A mother knows when something isn't right. And right now, my instincts were screaming. Jackson Memorial Hospital was enormous. Bright lights, endless corridors, the smell of antiseptic. I walked quickly to the ICU desk. "I'm Margaret Whitmore. I'm here for Emily Whitmore." The nurse at the desk looked up. Her expression shifted the moment she heard my name. "Oh, you're her mother-in-law?" "Yes." "Where is my son?" The nurse glanced at another nurse beside her. Then she leaned closer to me and lowered her voice. "Ma'am, I'm not sure how to say this." A cold sensation crept up my spine. "What say?" She whispered, "Your son hasn't visited her once." For a moment, I thought I had misheard. "That's impossible." "She's been here 30 hours. My voice became sharp. Daniel lives 20 minutes from here. The nurse nodded slowly. Yes. They finally allowed me inside the ICU. Emily looked fragile, so fragile it hurt to see. She was connected to oxygen tubes and IV lines. Her skin was pale, her lips dry. I sat beside her bed and held her hand. "Emily," I whispered softly. Her eyelids fluttered slightly, but she didn't wake. A doctor entered the room. "Your family?" "Yes." He studied my face. "She's extremely weak. It appears she had a high fever for several days without treatment." My chest tightened. "Several days?" "Yes." The doctor's voice grew more serious. "Did no one notice?" That question echoed in my mind like thunder. Did no one notice? Daniel lives with her. How could he not notice? Unless he wasn't there. An hour later, I stepped outside the ICU to get some air. My phone buzzed in my purse. A notification. Instagram. Daniel had posted a new story. I opened it without thinking, and the world stopped. There he was, my son, standing on the deck of a luxury yacht, music blasting, champagne spraying, two women laughing beside him, the Miami skyline glowing behind them, and the caption read, "Living the dream. #yacht life." My hands began to shake. The date on the video was today, not yesterday, not last week, today, while his wife lay unconscious in the ICU. I watched the video 3 times. Each second felt like a knife cutting through my chest. My son laughing, dancing, drinking, while Emily fought for her life. In that moment, something inside me changed. The love of a mother didn't disappear, but something else appeared beside it. Something colder, clearer. Justice. That night, sitting alone in the hospital waiting room, I made 2 calls. The first was to my attorney in Boston. "Richard Holliday." "Margaret, it's nearly midnight. I need documents prepared." "What kind?" "My will." He went silent. "And a full property transfer." "To Daniel?" I stared at the ICU doors. "No." "To Emily Whitmore." Richard's voice grew careful. "That's a serious decision." "I know." "Are you sure?" I remembered the Instagram video, the champagne, the laughter, and Emily's fragile hand in mine. "Yes," I said quietly. "I'm absolutely sure." The silent apartment. The ICU waiting room at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami was quiet after midnight. Most families had gone home. Only a few exhausted people remained, sitting under the cold fluorescent lights. I stayed in the same chair for hours, watching the double doors that led to Emily's room. Every time they opened, my heart jumped, but each time it was only a nurse or a doctor or a cart rolling past. Emily never came out. At around 2:30 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Another notification. Another Instagram story from Daniel. I didn't want to open it, but I did. I opened the Instagram story. The video showed the yacht again. Music thundering, colored lights flashing across the deck. Daniel stood at the center holding a bottle of expensive champagne. The caption said, "Miami nights never end." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I quietly locked the phone and placed it back in my purse. Something inside me hardened. By morning, the doctors told me Emily's condition was stable but still critical. "She's extremely malnourished," the doctor explained, "and severely dehydrated." I frowned. That makes no sense. Why? Because she lives in a luxury condo. The doctor gave me a strange look. "Ma'am, wealth doesn't always mean care." Around 12, I decided to visit the condo. I needed Emily's personal documents for hospital paperwork, and I needed answers. The Uber dropped me in front of the building Daniel and Emily lived in. Ocean Crest Towers, a beautiful high-rise overlooking the water in Brickell, Miami, Florida. Glass balconies, marble lobby, private parking. I purchased the condo 3 years earlier as a wedding gift. At the time, Daniel hugged me and said, "Mom, you're the best mother in the world." The memory now felt bitter. The lobby concierge recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Whitmore, welcome back." "Thank you. Mr. Whitmore hasn't been around much lately." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" The man shrugged politely. "Mostly evenings, parties, guests." "What about Emily?" The concierge hesitated. "She hasn't been seen for several days." The elevator ride to the 17th floor felt strangely heavy. When the doors opened, the hallway was silent. I walked toward apartment 1704, Daniel and Emily's home. My key slid into the lock. The woman looked uncomfortable. There was yelling sometimes. Yelling? Your son shouting, door slamming. My hands curled into fists. What kind of yelling? Mrs. Alvarez hesitated. Then she whispered, "He kept saying the condo was his and she should be grateful." I walked into the bedroom. Emily's room looked different, neater, quieter. A small reading lamp sat beside the bed. Several books were stacked on the nightstand, and on the dresser, a thin notebook, a diary. I didn't mean to read it, but when I opened the first page, I couldn't stop. June 4. Daniel says his business is struggling. He asked for my savings to help with investors. I gave him $5,000. I hope it helps. July 17. Daniel is angry again. He said I embarrass him because I don't dress like the women at his parties. I stayed in the bedroom all night. August 2. He sold my grandmother's necklace. He said we needed money for rent, but the condo was paid for, so I don't understand. My vision blurred. I turned another page. September 10. I think Daniel is gambling. I found messages on his phone about debts. I'm scared to ask him. Another page. The handwriting was shaky. September 28. I've had a fever for 3 days. Daniel says hospitals are too expensive right now. He told me to rest and stop complaining. The final entry was written 2 days ago. October 1. I feel very weak. Daniel turned off the heat because he said electricity costs too much. I tried to stand up today, but I collapsed. If something happens to me, I hope someone tells his mother the truth. I closed the diary slowly. My hands were trembling, not with sadness, with rage. Daniel hadn't just abandoned his wife. He had been destroying her slowly. I placed the diary carefully into my purse. Then I walked through the apartment one more time, looking at everything differently now. The empty bottles, the unpaid bills, the broken furniture, and suddenly something else caught my eye. A folder on Daniel's desk. Inside were loan documents, high-interest loans, private lenders, and at the bottom of the stack, a copy of the condo deed, my condo, with my signature. Except I had never signed it. The signature was a forgery. Daniel had tried to use the condo as collateral for a loan. My chest felt cold and heavy. My own son had tried to steal the house I gave him. I left the apartment without touching anything else. The Miami sun felt blinding when I stepped outside. Inside my purse were 2 things: Emily's diary and proof that Daniel had committed fraud. Back at the hospital that evening, the nurse greeted me quietly. "Mrs. Whitmore?" She woke up briefly. My heart jumped. "Did she say anything?" The nurse nodded. "She asked for you." I hurried into the ICU room. Emily's eyes opened slowly when she saw me. For a moment, she looked confused. Then tears filled her eyes. "Margaret," her voice was barely a whisper, "I'm so sorry." I squeezed her hand gently. "You have nothing to apologize for." Her eyes filled with fear. "Please, don't tell Daniel I spoke to you." My heart broke. "Why?" She whispered the words that sealed my decision forever. because he said if I ruined his life, he'd ruin mine. That night, I called my lawyer again. Richard. Yes, Margaret? Prepare another document. What kind? A restraining order. Against who? I looked through the ICU glass at Emily sleeping peacefully. Against my son. And I still love him. But love doesn't mean protecting someone from the consequences of their actions. Emily was quiet for a moment. Then she asked carefully, "What happens now?" I smiled gently. Now? Now we see who Daniel Carter really is. She tilted her head. What do you mean? I pulled a chair closer to her bed. Because tomorrow, he's flying back to San Diego. Her eyes widened slightly. He told you that? No. Then how do you know? I leaned back calmly. Because my lawyer also sent him something else this morning. What? A legal document. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What kind of document? I met her eyes. A divorce settlement, already signed by me as the financial guarantor. She gasped softly. And Daniel? He has two choices. What choices? I smiled faintly. Sign the divorce papers, or explain to a judge why he abandoned his wife in a hospital while partying on a yacht. Emily stared at me in stunned silence. You planned all this last night? I nodded. Yes. She slowly shook her head in disbelief. Allison. Yes? You're terrifying. For the first time in days, we both laughed. But deep down, I knew something important. Tomorrow, my son would walk into that hospital, and when he did, he would finally face the consequences of the lie that started it all. Morning arrived slowly over San Diego. Gray clouds hung low above the city, and the air outside the hospital felt heavier than usual, as if even the sky was waiting for something to happen. Inside the room, Emily Carter sat quietly in her hospital bed while I arranged the flowers that one of the nurses had brought earlier. Neither of us had slept much. We both knew today would change everything. At exactly 9:17 a.m., the door suddenly opened, and there he was, Daniel Carter. My son looked different than the last time I had seen him. His expensive jacket was wrinkled, his hair messy, and the confident arrogance he normally carried seemed cracked. He stepped into the room slowly. His eyes first landed on Emily, then on me. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, he broke the silence. Mom, we need to talk. I folded my arms calmly. We are talking. His jaw tightened. Not here. Emily spoke gently. It's okay. I want to hear this too. Daniel sighed heavily. This is between me and my mother. I shook my head. No, it stopped being just between us the moment you abandoned your wife. His face flushed with anger. I didn't abandon her. I raised an eyebrow. You were on a yacht. That was a business event. Emily looked confused. Business event? Daniel nodded quickly. Yes, I was meeting investors. I pulled my phone from my purse. Then I quietly opened Instagram and placed it on the bedside table. The video started playing. Daniel was dancing shirtless on the deck of a yacht while music blasted in the background. Champagne bottles sprayed everywhere. A woman shouted behind the camera, "Best party ever!" The clip ended. The room went silent. Daniel looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. That doesn't show the meeting earlier, he muttered weakly. Emily closed her eyes briefly. I can't believe this. Daniel turned to her quickly. Emily, listen, I was going to come to the hospital after. You didn't. I was busy. You were drinking. His voice hardened. You don't understand how my work operates. Emily's voice trembled slightly. No, I understand perfectly. She looked at him with tears forming. You didn't even call me. Daniel didn't respond, because there was nothing he could say. After a long moment, he turned back to me. Mom, this has gone far enough. Has it? Yes. You froze my accounts. Yes. You gave my inheritance to her. Yes. That's insane. I leaned forward slightly. Do you know what insanity looks like? He stared at me. Insanity is seeing your wife in critical condition and deciding a yacht party is more important. His fists clenched. You're destroying your own family. No, I said calmly. You did that. Emily wiped a tear from her cheek. Daniel, I need to ask you something. Daniel turned toward her. What? Did you ever plan to come see me? He hesitated. That single pause told us everything. Emily slowly nodded. I understand. Daniel stepped closer to her bed. Emily, please, don't do this. Do what? Don't let my mother manipulate you. I stood up slowly. This has nothing to do with manipulation. It has everything to do with revenge. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, Daniel. This is accountability. The door suddenly opened again. A tall man in a dark suit stepped in. Good morning. Daniel looked confused. Who are you? The man adjusted his glasses. My name is Michael Harris. Then he handed Daniel a folder. He opened it quickly. His face went pale as he read. What is this? Michael spoke calmly. These are the finalized legal transfers of your mother's estate. Daniel looked at me in disbelief. You actually did it? Yes. You gave everything away? Yes. To her? I nodded toward Emily. Yes. Daniel slammed the folder on the table. You've lost your mind. Emily suddenly spoke. Stop. Both of us turned toward her. She looked exhausted but determined. Allison, I can't accept this. I frowned slightly. What? I won't take your life savings. You deserve it. No. Yes. She shook her head. I didn't marry Daniel for money. I know. And I won't take revenge on him through you. Daniel looked relieved for a moment, but Emily continued. I will sign the divorce. His relief disappeared instantly. But the money shouldn't belong to me either. The room grew quiet. Emily looked at me gently. Allison, you worked your whole life for that. Yes. And you should decide what to do with it. I thought for a long moment. Then, slowly, an idea formed. I turned to Michael. Is the transfer reversible? Partially. How long would it take? A few hours. I looked at Emily. Then we're doing something better. Daniel frowned groupily. What are you talking about? I smiled faintly. I'm donating the entire estate. His eyes widened. To who? I looked at Emily. To the hospital. Emily gasped softly. You can't be serious. I am. Daniel looked like he might collapse. That's tens of millions. Yes. You're throwing it away. No. I'm giving it to people who actually save lives. Emily began crying quietly. Allison, that's incredible. I placed my hand gently over hers. Your doctors saved you. She squeezed my hand. They did. Daniel stood frozen. You're ruining everything. I looked at him one last time. No, Daniel. You ruined everything. Then I turned away from him completely. And in that moment, for the first time in my life, I stopped seeing him as the boy I had raised and started seeing him as the man he had chosen to become. The end.